Hey guys, Monica here. We are going to do a quick tutorial on shadows and rendering plans. This is something that will be useful as you start to keep moving through your understanding of Photoshop and less about AutoCAD, but you can bring in any plan and render it this way, and also super helpful once you start modeling in 3D. So what I've done here is, let me just show you my file. So I had this aerial photo. It had color actually. Let me just back up and say, so I had color here, and what I did was I just went to Image, Adjustments, and Desaturate, and I desaturated it. And then I also have these contour lines, which I got from this is a USGS image, and I brought them into, I was able to make contour lines. I can show you guys how to do that from a USGS image. So these are 5-foot contour lines. So I've put it all together into this document, which I've cropped, so we're moving in a little bit tighter, and you'll see here's the topo. And then the last thing you might not notice, because it's so small, is this building. And I'm using this building as an example, but any design that you made, any model you make eventually in 3D, any CAD drawing or that you want to apply a little bit of color to, we're just going to make a quick plan that sort of has some visual appeal, and hopefully this will be useful to you guys. So the first step is we need to invert our topo. So this has a white background, and I want to invert it. So I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, and Invert. And oops, I adjusted the wrong thing. Okay, I'm setting this back to normal because what I want to show you guys is Adjustments, Invert, and we get this black background, white lines. Now I actually want it to appear with the white lines, so I'm going to set this to Lighten, and we'll see the topo lines show up there. Okay, the next step is to make a shadow on the building. So with the building selected, I've grouped this, and I actually have two things here. I have a roof line, which is this shape, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's a roof line. I'll zoom in. So here's the roof line, and here's the rectangle. Real simple. And I actually just did this in Photoshop, but you could, of course, do this a much more advanced design in AutoCAD and have those lines here. You could fill them basically, or you could do that in Illustrator, or you could do that in 3D software of your choice. So I've just done it to show you this point in Photoshop. Probably not the best place to be drafting, but it's just to prove the point. Okay, so there's our building. What I want to do is actually make a drop shadow on the building. So I'm going to go to Blending Options and Drop Shadow. One of the new things about CS6 that I really like is that you can actually move your drop shadow. So in this dialog box here, I can actually just left click and move the shadow and make it as big as I want. I still have to adjust it here, so I'm actually going to make it a little bit sharper. And that's because I'm looking at the shadows that are on the ground here from the trees and seeing what kind of cast shadows are being made here in this place by the sun. I'm also going to change the distance. Actually, I want it to sort of be a little bit more like this. Maybe make the distance a little, maybe the angle's a little off now. I want the spread to be a little bit wider, and you have to play with these things when you start using their techniques with moving like this. It actually takes a little bit of getting used to, but we'll just say something like that looks good. And I'm actually going to set the opacity to 100%, and I'll show you why later. So I'm going to say OK. And then the next thing I'm going to do is actually I'm going to knock this shadow off. which is a cool feature that you can do. I just wanted to show everyone. So I right-clicked in here and that in the shadow, and I'm going to say Create Layer, and it's going to give me this warning, and I'm going to say OK. And there we can see that the shadow is actually its own layer now, which I think is really useful because you can use it a little bit differently. It's now just become, like I said, a layer. So I'm going to set it to multiply. It already is set to multiply, but you shouldn't. You should set it to multiply. And I'm actually going to change the opacity to 92%, which is sort of how I like to do these. And then I'm going to start erasing the edge. So this is actually less, sorry, I'm not going to erase yet. I'm going to smudge first. So smudging is a useful tool. I think just for the purposes of this exercise, I just wanted to show you guys smudge. I don't know how much we actually need it here in this case, but you can know that this is usually what I do when I start to work with shadows. So I smudge a bit. I keep my strength somewhere around 90, 89, 90, high 80s, something like that. And then I just start to smudge the edge. This is a pretty big sized brush, so I'm actually just right-clicked and I'm going to change the size of my brush to be a little bit smaller. And now what I can do is actually get a little bit more specific about where the shadow goes. Remember that the corner of buildings are really important, really tend to be really dark places. So I use the smudge to create a shadow that, holding it down spacebar to pan, and this is more just to show you guys how smudge works and that it's an option for creating shadows once you have one like this. Less important that it be here because what I'm actually making it look like is that the roof is bumpy. But that's okay, it's more just to prove the point. So the next thing, if it's not really quite looking the way that I want, then I can use the eraser tool, and I keep my opacity at around 25% for that, and then I can go in and refine that edge again. So using smudge and eraser to kind of get the shadow edge that you want. And remember that shadows sort of diffuse the further out they get, so from the object. So erase really at 25% really gives you that look. So the shadow, let's just say for the purposes of this, the shadow looks fine. I think it looks a little odd, but just for the tutorial, we're good. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to start creating some color here on this page. I found a nice green that I like. You guys can use this one if you want. And back up here, I'm going to create a new layer. I'll just call it green. And I've done it behind the topo and above the plan. I'm going to use the paintbrush to paint. I'm going to set my opacity to about 50%. And I'm actually going to set the, well, I'll set it at 50% and then we'll set it to overlay later. But I'm just going to start painting in some color. I'm going to sort of focus first on the space around the building and have a kind of look that radiates out from the building. This green color. Emphasizing the building first and foremost. And leaving the running track as gray. That's just sort of, as black and white. That's just sort of a look. I don't know, I could fill it in. Okay. Okay, so that sort of is a look that I think is starting to come alive. And now just by simply setting this to overlay, um, you just get a really interesting effect, I think. So I can still draw here more, or use my paintbrush and just refine this and keep adding these just these swipes of color. And I think what we've just really done here pretty quickly is drawn a lot of attention to the building. You see it now, and just created a kind of nice effect with without a whole lot of work. So this is a plan that you could actually, you know, put on a board just really quickly, but it just has a nice effect. So that's really the bulk of what I wanted to show you guys, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay.